Waffles, and I'm a government whistleblower turned political commentator, and I'm starting my day a little pissed off. And the reason for that is because there's a sniper in Texas that apparently shot 3 people. I'm an activist. I'm also a whistleblower. I was working at the Department of Labor during the pandemic. I wrote a book. I'm very skilled. I'm a graphic designer. I do this, I do that, I do gardening. I do all kinds of things, okay? But I pay attention to the world around me, and I'm not happy to see that we continue to have this issue of snipers on roofs. First of all, and second of all, I think that there's one group of people that is hiring these individuals, and I think it's the group of people who, from my own perspective, are quite literally saying that Americans are endorsing political violence, but when I listen to their words and I watch their actions, they're the ones that are inciting political violence. And I'm very worried that they're hiring these snipers. Other than that, as a person who monitors conflict, has been monitoring conflict for the last 10 years of my life, probably longer than that. Yeah, longer than that. It's been longer than that. It's been like 15 years. I am seeing patterns of behavior that I find quite concerning that are taking place here in the United States. And to be clear in expressing my opinion, I feel like the President of the United States is behind these acts. I like honest dialogue because when it comes to problems and solving problems and finding real and meaningful solutions, people need to be honest about things. I am an American citizen. I am using my First Amendment right to freedom of speech and freedom of the press to express my thoughts and my opinions based on my observations, and these are my observations. We have this reoccurring theme of snipers on roofs. I am 38. I have never seen things like bomb threats during an election in my entire life, yet for some reason when Donald Trump's coming into office, this is happening. There's been attacks on infrastructure or electricity and stuff. Somebody was taking out substations last year prior to the election. From my own observations, when I watch what these politicians are doing and the things that come out of their mouths, did this administration not say that the left, which when you're referring to the left, you're referring to 50% of the United States population, almost, roughly, that there will be so Heritage Foundation head refers to Second American Revolution. This is in the New York Times. And there's a paywall. This article was published July 3rd of 2024. Kevin Roberts, president of the group that has coordinated the Project 2025 policy plan, said it could be bloodless if the left allows it, okay? There is a population of 340 million Americans here, and if you are claiming that the left, or roughly 50% of the population, is the enemy, which is a reoccurring theme that I have heard multiple times now, then you are calling for doing harm to and eradication of 50% of the United States population. So for that reason, due to the significant scale of the amount of Americans we are talking about here, I am personally not okay with that, and I see that as an attack against the country if you believe half of the population needs to be under attack. If that's what you believe, then I will say that that's incredibly un-American of you to say that half of the population deserves to be harmed. So this shit that I'm seeing of like trying to make pop culture out of claiming that half of the population is the fucking enemy, I have a problem with that, and that's what I'm seeing when I look at MAGA merchandise and how they're running their online platforms. I think as a result of this propagandization of claiming that a large segment, half of the American population, is an enemy somehow and deserves to be harmed, has not been very clear. I think that when they refer to these people that they're referring to as the left, which is actually like half of the fucking population, they're referring to, first of all, Americans that just like vote in a certain way. I don't understand this trying to cause conflict with the entire country. Bullshit. Trump has like a 33, 34 overall approval rating. He is not performing with the American people. I am dissatisfied that I am seeing what appears to be reoccurrent terrorist attacks being orchestrated by the president and his administration towards the American people, utilizing American taxpayer funds and resources to engage in such acts of aggression. And then I will say that when I witness these acts of aggression, what I see is similar things that have been happening in the Middle East for a very long time now in regards to bad leaders who have destabilized and destroyed their countries, mobilizing militias such as ICE against the people, and the same kind of militant actions that I see Donald Trump taking towards the American people right now. Depriving Americans of resources, making it so food is scarce. There was bomb threats during the election. There's been multiple acts of aggression towards the American people, to include deploying the National Guard against the people in Los Angeles. People need to be able to run their businesses. I don't give a fuck what people's opinions are on this one. From my own perspective, what I see when I look at the footage of what is taking place is chaos in the streets. And that involves what the president did with deploying the National Guard against the people. People need to be able to run their businesses. They need to be able to show up at work in the morning, enter their shop, not afraid of getting shot or harmed. And so then, with that being said, I will say that the president appears to be deliberately attempting to destabilize the United States of America, which there will be long-term consequences for if it is allowed to continue. I am of the personal opinion that this shooter who shot Charlie Kirk was hired by the president and co-conspirators, and particularly I would say probably people from the Heritage Foundation, since they're making comments all the way back in 2024 about a bloodless revolution. There is no revolution to be had here. Why are you engaging in acts of aggression towards the United States of America? Your legal responsibility under the Constitution of the United States, as well as United States law, is to act in the best interest of the United States of America. Attacking, dehumanizing, and threatening half of the fucking population is not acting in the interest of the American people. Making it so nobody can afford to fucking live is not acting in the interest of the American people. Scaring the shit out of the women by fucking with medical care and using that as a means to intimidate roughly half of the population, which is the females, is not acting in the best interest of the population. I mean, when we want to talk about, like, blatant acts of aggression, these are people who are talking about how the birth rates are too low and we need to drive the population up, and then they're doing things to threaten and intimidate the women so that, fuck no, dude, if I was a woman right now, I'll be staying as far away from any man as possible. And maybe that is the goal. Maybe they're trying to scare the shit out of the women so they won't fucking have anything to do with the men. Maybe that's part of their goal. Snipers on roofs, I have a problem with, and it's happening repeatedly. When the war in Syria broke out, there were tanks rolling through the streets, and it later escalated, and none of the civilians could get food because there were snipers on the roofs, and people would get shot at when attempting to go to the grocery store. So I just want to make sure that people understand the severe consequences of what it certainly looks like the president is attempting to do. And I think that he's attacking the United States, to be frank. And he needs to stop, and he better get his fucking attitude right and start serving the country. Because he has a role and a responsibility to, and if he keeps doing this, he needs to be removed. Alright, so you know what? I feel better, I saw that news this morning, and it really upsets me to see these kinds of things happening in our country. When the conflict in Ukraine broke out, what I witnessed was police officers taking up armaments against the people. And that was like all the way back in like 2013 or something. That was a long time ago. And now that we can see that Putin is acting as an aggressor, I mean, I'm very worried that Vladimir Putin used that virus to break his way into multiple countries. I'm afraid that he had spies that planted COVID. These are my concerns. I'm just expressing my opinions based on my observations. I'm not stating that these things are fact, but I am openly speculating in case it might be useful. I would like to get about my day without having to worry about, like, the American people and myself being afraid of things like people, on top of buildings with guns. And what I remember during the Syrian war was that the people reporting information to me so I could report to others and keep people informed was that there was snipers on top of the roofs that were shooting at civilians when they were attempting to go to grocery stores. So I just want to make sure that I have clearly expressed my concerns, because I feel that there is a need for public awareness as a result of what, I personally think that the president is doing. And I'm just making assumptions. I just want people to be paying attention and being aware. I could be wrong about these things. But I'm not going to be sitting here all quiet and fail to express my concerns when I see what appears to be acts of aggression being conducted by the president and his administration and MAGA, which to me looks like a terrorist organization if they are endorsing acts of violence towards the American people. Also, Jesse Watters from Fox News showed up in my newsfeed as well, making inappropriate statements, which I also believe should get him fired, stating that the United Nations should be bombed because the escalator didn't work properly. Yeah, that's really inappropriate, and I feel like that is somebody who is deliberately attempting to stir up political violence. I want to make sure that I clearly point that out. Jesse Watters from Fox News, everyone.
What we need to do is either leave the UN or we need to bomb it. It is in New York, though, right?
Yeah,
There'd be some fallout there.
Yeah,
all right.
What's going on with the escalator? What do you think?
Yeah, they sabotaged them.
Yeah.
And they could have hurt the First Lady.
Yeah.
Trump would have fallen and it would have gotten back up. But,
they would have blamed it on his rhetoric.
And then they sabotaged the teleprompter.
Yeah.
This is an insurrection. And what we need to do is either leave the UN or we need to bomb it.
No. Okay, Jesse Watters, it is not your place as somebody who has the eyes of millions of people on you as a broadcaster for a major news network to be deciding or, telling us who to attack the UN, to be frank. This is, last time that I heard Jesse Watters speaking that caught my attention was he was calling Americans, the Americans that I've been addressing, which is about half of the population, that they are calling liberals. And again, I want to remind people that the president only has a 30-something% approval rating right now. People don't like what these motherfuckers are doing. Dehumanizing people is an act of war. It is something done to make people comfortable with physically harming each other in military training. It is a known tactic of psychological control and psychological manipulation. And Jesse Watters has shown that he is trained in those tactics when he previously came out shortly after the Charlie Kirk shooting, immediately after calling Americans rats. I think that both Jesse Watters and Brian Kilmeade need to be removed from their positions and investigated criminally for doing things that appear to me to be, psychological manipulation, psychological warfare tactics in order to endorse and normalize acts of violence and aggression towards the United States and its allies. I'm getting real sick of this shit show that's going on here. And I don't think, when I hear that there was a sniper on the roof shooting at people in Texas this morning, I'm just wondering if Americans are going to need to worry about getting shot at when they try to go to the grocery store. I mean, it's been in the news in the past that people have been getting shot at grocery stores. There should be a deep probe to figure out who it is that's engaging in the acts of aggression towards the United States to figure out who this is. And as long as it continues, then I'm going to assume that the people in charge are letting it happen. Because if they weren't, there would be less of this kind of activity. So then when it comes to things like infrastructure attacks, snipers on roofs, military deployments against the American people, deprivation of resources, food, shelter, and the ongoing dehumanization of a significant portion of the United States population. Nameless dehumanization, very broad. I'm very angry and I'm tired of seeing this shit. I'd like to go about my daily life without worrying about getting shot at the grocery store. So if this is Trump's America, his America fucking sucks. And along with that, then I would say it also looks like he's engaging in acts of aggression towards the American people, because things are escalating, and it certainly looks, because of that, like he's behind it, along with his whole crew of MAGA, which, for example, we have a news broadcaster from Fox News saying that we should bomb the UN. What the fuck? I got cut off there. So anyways, from my own perspective, it certainly appears to be these MAGA people that are attempting to engage in acts of aggression towards the United States. And if that's the case, if you're still following along with MAGA, if you're still that stupid, you might want to consider not doing that. Because it looks like they're trying to attack the country, and that's not fucking cool. And there's like more than 75% of the population or something. Like you guys only got like 30%. You need to knock it off. This is not okay. Donald Trump needs to be looking out for the well-being of the nation, and if he's not going to do that, which is certainly, I'm sorry, but actions speak louder than words. The economy is tanking, and there's a lot of what appears to be military tactics being deployed against the American people as an act of aggression, and it certainly looks like he has a part to do with that. So if he's not going to step up and actually, use some competent skill and make it so that we're able to survive and stop threatening the people, I think he needs to be removed from office. Other than that, from what I've seen, when the motherfucker's behind a microphone, he can hardly speak. If there is any more of these dehumanizing statements coming out of people like this on Fox News, or any endorsement of any form of acts of violence, you guys make sure that you make it public as fuck. Because they know what they're doing, and they're doing it on purpose, and it is an act of aggression. And if it continues to happen, I think we need to be calling for a criminal investigation into Rupert Murdoch. And that's just my opinion and my perspective. So I feel a lot better now that I have gotten my yelling out of my system. I'm very frustrated and disgusted with what I'm seeing. But I feel better. My adrenal response has gone down. I'm disgusted to see that this is what we got going on. People in Syria were having to sneak through alleyways to try and get to the grocery stores because there were snipers on the roofs. And it looks like that's what they're trying to do here. And so then I'm just wondering why the president appears to be trying to use these same tactics that were used in the Middle East to destabilize Middle Eastern countries against the American people. Things like deploying the military, using militia groups, snipers, shooting people in public places, bomb threats. And these are my accusations against the Trump administration. I'm just expressing my thoughts and my opinions based on my observations. So I would like to know where Jesse Waters and Brian Kilmeade are getting these ideas to even say these kinds of things to the public in the first place. I find that highly questionable. Why are you saying these things? Who's telling you to say these things? That's what I would like to know. I don't think that Jesse Waters or Brian Kilmeade should have the right to attempt to dictate acts of war. Why are these two news broadcasters that work for this major news media outlet endorsing political violence and acts of aggression? Why why are they doing that? I would like an answer to that question. An apology is not enough. I would like an explanation. I would hope that at this point I've said enough on the subject. I feel better that I'm not just sitting here witnessing this stuff take place and saying nothing. And I will say, yelling about it and getting it out of my system does make me feel better. I'm very frustrated about these things. I'm very concerned about these things. And I would just like to speak up on my own perspective of things, just in case it helps raise this public awareness, just in case I'm right about things. Because I'm more concerned about Americans, the average American, any person in this country, people who might not even give a fuck about your politics, okay? A lot of us are out here trying to live normal-ass life, alright? Some people are doctors, some people are artists, some people are writers, some people are, manufacture skateboards, some people, there's iron workers, and construction workers, and landscapers, and, the movie theaters that we go to, there's people that work there. There's all kinds of Americans who, I don't think need to put up with this bullshit, because we're just trying to live our lives, and y'all are out here acting crazy and in an inappropriate way, and in a way that I think is threatening towards the American people. I'm getting really pissed off at what I'm seeing. That is my perspective and my opinions about what I'm witnessing. Other than that, Trump has a 30% approval rating, so when I take the dark triad of personality types and I look at sociopaths, psychopaths, schizophrenics, borderlines, all combined, those are people who are likely to engage in acts of aggression due to psychological disorder. I think it's about roughly the amount of people who are still supporting Trump remaining. So I don't know if there's much we can do about the metrics, and other than that, I'm not trying to demonize any psychological or mental disorder. There are people who have some of these disorders that work very hard on themselves to be able to function in society. I'm getting very sick of what I'm seeing. Can we get back to normal life? Can you get rid of your stupid mail holds and quit with the tariffs and leave people alone? Last night I did a whole chunk of yelling about the tariffs because it's making it so the entire economy can't function. And if there's a bunch of people going missing, America has the most missing people in the entire world, then your FBI is doing a shitty job. I would like to know why I'm not seeing an open investigation going on in towards the mass grave in New Mexico. I would like to know why the fuck our government's not doing its job in protecting the United States people. I would like to know why people keep getting shot at grocery stores and schools, and why now we're looking at snipers on top of buildings as a recurrent theme in everyday life. I think that the American people deserve a clear explanation. Part of me, I really believe this does have something to do with our federal agencies being defunded. But at the same time, I will also say that it also appears that a bunch of these MAGA people are trying to engage in acts of aggression towards the United States and its allies. And I find that highly questionable. And if that's how things are going to be, and that's how it is right now, I would just say to all you government fucking shows that you suck at your job. And you should quit. And let real people handle the fucking issues, because obviously you're not capable because you're too fucking incompetent. And we all see what you're doing. And if you're gonna be out here acting a fool like this and threatening the American people and engaging in acts of aggression, then I think it's kind of obvious who the pundit is. If you're the one that's doing it, then of course these problems are not getting solved. That's what I have to say about this administration. Brian Kilmeade and Jesse Waters of Fox News need to be held legally accountable for their misconduct in endorsing acts of aggression towards the United States and its allies. public safety does matter, and it certainly appears to me that these things of like shooting people and making bomb threats and fucking attacking infrastructure and threatening the people and mobilizing our own military against the American people, those things all accumulate and appear to me to be acts of aggression, acts of war towards the United States. And I think that public safety does matter. I'm getting really sick of seeing this shit. Other than that, if you are also sick of seeing this shit and you're watching this video, what we have seen is that mass-scale protests are working in deterring attacks, regional attacks by this administration via the organization that we don't even know what country these people are from because they're all fucking wearing masks. Protests seem to be helping with that. The boycott with Disney seemed to be a phenomenal thing to assert that the American people do matter and we don't treat people like this. Who the fuck is the owner of Fox News? Rupert Murdoch? Whoever the fuck is in charge over there at Fox News. Fox News is Rupert Murdoch and Dell CEO take part in TikTok deal. Yeah, that motherfucker, Rupert Murdoch, needs to be held accountable. And if his employees are going to continue to endorse political violence and continue with, supporting acts of aggression towards the United States, I think that Rupert Murdoch needs to be under criminal investigation. Actions speak louder than words. And while the MAGA cult likes to point the finger at half of the population being lefties or whatever the fuck this made up character that they're trying to feed people that is not clearly defined, which to me, when I take the broad context of what they're saying, it's like half of the population that they're attempting to threaten and insult. And considering that Trump's approval rating is down to like 30-something%, it's actually like 70% of fucking Americans that they're like threatening, in my opinion, based on my observations. If that's what's going on and Fox News is endorsing these kinds of things and stating, this kind of support for acts of aggression, I think they need to be under criminal investigation. Rupert Murdoch has control over a significant amount of news media resources, and if his employees are going to be on TV saying that we should bomb the United Nations, which we have been a part of since World War II, there needs to be an investigation if these employees are going to keep working on the screen. Other than that, dehumanization is a tool and a weapon of war. Don't let them get away with it. Don't follow along. Understand that they know what they're doing when they're doing it, and it is an act of aggression. So I'm going to say, I felt really pissed off when I woke up and saw that, there's snipers on roofs again. And I'm kind of dealing with my frustration. I would like to get about my day, but this is how I see it. I see, from my own perspective, it looks like the so-called president is engaging in acts of aggression towards the United States, and MAGA and his co-conspirators, these people from Heritage Foundation, it looks to me like are paying these people to attack people. And just because they want to say a story out of their mouths and make up lies does not mean that that's not what's, words say one thing, actions speak another. And when I look at who's saying hateful, fucked up shit and doing these kinds of things, certainly looks like it's these MAGA people. So then who are these MAGA people? Because to me it looks like a terrorist organization if they're attacking infrastructure and shooting people. That's what I have to say. I'm very pissed off. I will hope that things get better for all of us. I got cut off there. So anyways, from my own perspective, it certainly appears to be these MAGA people that are attempting to engage in acts of aggression towards the United States. And if that's the case, if you're still following along with MAGA, if you're still that stupid, you might want to consider not doing that. Because it looks like they're trying to attack the country, and that's not fucking cool. And there's like more than 75% of the population or something. Like you guys only got like 30%. You need to knock it off. This is not okay. Donald Trump needs to be looking out for the well-being of the nation, and if he's not going to do that, which is certainly, I'm sorry, but actions speak louder than words. The economy is tanking, and there's a lot of what appears to be military tactics being deployed against the American people as an act of aggression, and it certainly looks like he has a part to do with that. So if he's not going to step up and actually, like, use some competent skill and make it so that we're able to survive and stop threatening the people, I think he needs to be removed from office. Other than that, from what I've seen, when the motherfucker's behind a microphone, he can hardly speak. If there is any more of these dehumanizing statements coming out of people like this on Fox News, or any endorsement of any form of acts of violence, you guys make sure that you make it public as fuck. Because they know what they're doing, and they're doing it on purpose, and it is an act of aggression. And if it continues to happen, I think we need to be calling for a criminal investigation into Rupert Murdoch. And that's just my opinion and my perspective. So I feel a lot better now that I have gotten my yelling out of my system. I'm very frustrated and disgusted with what I'm seeing. But I feel better. You know, my adrenal response has gone down. I'm disgusted to see that this is what we got going on. You know, people in Syria were having to sneak through alleyways to try and get to the grocery stores because there were snipers on the roofs. And it looks like that's what they're trying to do here. And so then I'm just wondering why the president appears to be trying to use these same tactics that were used in the Middle East to destabilize Middle Eastern countries against the American people. Things like deploying the military, using militia groups, snipers, shooting people in public places, bomb threats. And these are my accusations against the Trump administration. I'm just expressing my thoughts and my opinions based on my observations. I'm going to get about my day now. Yeah, you know, I just feel so much better when I get that crap out of my system.
It's happening. We got trans shooters. We got riots in LA. They are at war with us. Whether we want to accept it or not, they are at war with us. And what are we going to do about it? How much political violence are we going to tolerate? And that's the question we're just going to have to ask ourselves. Now, Charlie would want us to put as much pressure on these people as possible. Dana nailed it. This is unacceptable and has to stop. And it has to stop now. And everybody's accountable. And we're watching what they're saying on television and who's saying what. The politicians, the media, and all these rats out there. This can never...
Takes one to know one.
Stupid is, stupid does, Mrs. Blue.